from a lead generation standpoint, you're essentially coming out of what you were primarily doing last year. That was you were able to produce 8 million pretty much just off of all of bottom of funnel business, right? FISBOs and expireds. Then through our coaching community, a lot of us are talking about the value of working what we would call top of funnel business, and business like you were saying, downsizers, likely to sells, things of that nature. But I think the problem for most agents is there's no instant business there. You have to build a pipeline. You have to be a little bit patient. But I think if you can be patient, I think you would say it's worth it. Would you agree with that?
100%. Just to give you an example, in the next 45 days, I'm going to close on close to $3 million from likely to sell or downsizers. And those are folks that I started talking to pretty much a year ago.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So all of your business, again, we're talking about lead generation first, then we'll talk about some other things. Are you doing anything besides outbound prospecting? Are you doing anything else when it comes to lead generation?
No.
Okay. So have you tried anything else? Have you dipped your toe
Plenty,
into some other things?
plenty. So, I mean, at the very beginning, before running into your YouTube channel, I bought buyer's leads. Never going to do that again. Then a friend of mine, he started setting up this. It was like an online lead generation thing, and it helped him out in the beginning. Or I should say that. Let me rephrase. We did it together. I was, doing the cold call. Well, it's not a cold call at that point anymore, but I was making the follow-up calls, and it just reminded me how bad online lead quality is usually, and that I just don't want to do that. I want to be in charge of controlling my lead quality essentially. So aside from that, what I have done is I hired somebody. Well, it's a company called Phone Animal a while ago to assist with calling as well.
Great
Uh,
company. Yeah.
but great company, but very expensive too. So
Yeah.
I stopped that. Especially this was probably more than a year ago. And when the market started shifting and not everything is selling anymore, that's a too expensive adventure to have.
And if you're watching this video right now and you're not earning a minimum of $10,000 a month every month, there's a link in the description. You can get instant access to my free 6-figure listing agent course where I show you step by step how to scale your income as a listing agent working 4 to 5 days a week. Just click the link in the description to get started. Yeah. So you've just said you're going to stay close to the revenue.
Yeah.
You're going to be responsible as the CEO of your company to drive business, drive revenue, drive growth, and not try to outsource that. And what you found with purchasing leads, any type of internet lead, is that the conversion is no different. There's no increased conversion buying leads than there is just direct cold outreach. They're about the same, so you might as well save the money. In fact, I think the argument you would make is that the conversion is actually higher because you're
100.
able to target a list and have the quality of conversations that you want without having to force people to enter their information in.
Yeah, you know me, I'm a maniac when it comes to tracking my stuff. And so I did that, of course. And from the online stuff, it's not even close. I mean, it's worse than circle prospecting, which is like 1 to 2% in yield. Online is like 0.5% if you're lucky, at least in my experience.
Yep.
Now, when I do downsizes, I yield 6 to 7% in leads. When I do likely to sell, it's pushing 9%. So there's no
It's not even
way.
close.
Yeah, not even a close call.
Yeah. So let's break that down. So give us an idea of how much lead generation you're doing, and
Mhm.
then how many hours you're spending doing this, and how many people you talk to, and then we'll get back to that lead conversion part. So how much of your day is spent in outbound prospecting now?
So for sure, it's 3 hours of brand new conversations. And then I
Got
do
it.
my lead follow-up, that could be half an hour, it could be an hour. It kind of depends on, what I'm trying to do, but definitely 3 hours is solid. And for me, I mean, I'm kind of stepping away from the daily target because there's so much fluctuation depending on who I call. Um, Not to say, obviously, I have my goal for the day. I don't want to stop calling without having had 30 conversations. But I know on a day when I call downsizers are likely to sell, it's easy for me to do like 50, 60 contacts in a day. And that's, of course, different if I chase a different lead source. So I'm trying to look at it from the monthly perspective, and I'm trying to steer my business that way. I know what numbers I need to hit to get my listings, to get my listing appointments. For instance, what I do is I'm very rigid about disqualifying for an appointment. So my appointment set to met ratio is 87%. And it's been like that for like the last 15 months.
Wow. And so we're gonna get there because that's really that's probably one of the highest we've had in a long time. So I want to save that for 1 second. Just a couple things on the prospecting, if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
The so some of the most common questions is, can you walk us through where you're getting data, what dialer you're using? These are all the questions everybody just really, struggles with. So,
Yeah.
A, where do you get your data from?
Yeah. So the expired data, I get it from Espresso Agent, which is just for those that don't know, it's basically a subsidiary of Vulcan, I think.
Yeah.
Same data quality, which at least here in my market, the data quality is phenomenal for espresso. The difference between Vulcan and espresso is you don't have a dollar seat with that, so it's a little cheaper, but I use a dollar anyway, so I don't need their dollar.
Okay, so you're getting your expireds from Espresso Agent, and then where are you getting likely to sells and downsizer data?
I've been using the share group for the last 18 months probably. And yeah, for me, that especially downsizing likely to sell lead quality has been phenomenal. So I just ran the numbers the other day. I think I have a pipeline of probably like 40, 45 million that have built up over these 1.5 years just from that.
Wow,
Yeah.
it's
And what I
amazing. I
love
mean, doesn't
about it is
that
I can choose my price point, right? So I'm trying to push that up.
It's great. I mean, doesn't that gives you just a nice peace of mind that you built this pipeline that's worth 40, 45 million? I mean, you
Yeah.
don't really get that through FISBOs or expires. Now, go back to and then dialer. What dialer are you using?
I use call tools.
Call tools. Okay, great. Now, um, when we go back to the conversion, specifically from contact to lead generated, you're averaging, I think you average at 8% based on all your lead sources across all platforms, correct?
About, yeah.
Okay. And lead is defined how in your world?
Just like you define it. There's no difference.
Got it. So this is somebody who has motivation that wants to sell. They've got timelines. They have no realtor. They're open to meeting you when the day comes, and they give you some type of contact information or permission to stay in touch. Is that fair?
Yeah, I want permission to send my stuff over, and well, learned it from you, but I do ask them, hey, if this is a waste of your time, you don't need it, you're never going to look at it, just tell me right now. So, and
That's
if they say
great.
yes, it's a waste of time, and it's not a lead.
Yeah. Where does that mindset come from? I mean, I don't. There's so much to unpack because you're doing things at such a high level. But I want to talk about the mindset on these calls of disqualification versus maybe how you started or how most agents start, where it's they just stuff everyone in the pipeline. Where's that mindset of disqualification come from?
I mean, it becomes impossible to manage if I don't do it this way. I try to be really rigid about who I put into my pipeline. If I put too many people in it, I won't be able to do a good job at following up. There's opportunities, what I qualified as an opportunity before that I had lost because my follow-up process was not solid enough. And that's probably something that I still need to get better at. But I decided then, if I'm more efficient on who I qualify and actually get that appointment, I need to do half the contacts that other people do that don't do it this way, right? So if I do 500 contacts a month, for instance, just to give an example, and I'm that rigid at disqualifying and then 87% listing set to met, I mean, that's almost as good as somebody's doing 900 contacts a month.
It's a great point. It's a great point. Can we just do a little bit of some role play so
Yeah, for
people can
sure.
understand what the language sounds like? Maybe we just take a um when you and I want to make it very clear when you're calling likely to sells or downsizers,
Yeah.
um, the script doesn't change. You're using just a general, what we would call maybe a circle prospecting approach. You don't. The question I always get is, well, what's the script for downsizers or what's the script for likely to sells? It's not like you're calling the prospect and saying, well, Mr. Prospect, looks like you're 70 years old. You're on my list of down. You're not doing any of that, correct?
No.
No, no. Okay. So what is the approach? Let's just role play what those conversations sound like, and
Yeah, sure.
that we turn into a lead. Go ahead. Ring, ring. Hello, this is Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, sorry if I'm calling you out of the blue here right now, but full disclosure, I'm a local realtor. I'm really not trying to offend you, but you have maybe 30 seconds or so for me? Just had a quick question.
Sure, no problem. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Brandon. Hey, just out of curiosity, I saw you have a property on 123 Main Street. Do you still own that?
Yeah, yeah, we do.
Gotcha. And I hope you don't mind me asking this, but I'm trying to see if I might be able to help you. I'm trying to connect a couple of buyers with the seller, and Brandon, I just wanted to ask you that property. I mean, it's a great location. You probably have absolutely no plans to potentially sell it in the next year or two, even if you got a great offer, right?
Well, it's funny you should call. My wife and I, we've just recently been thinking about doing something, not anytime soon, but probably, in the next year or so, we are potentially looking at doing something.
I got to say, Brandon, I'm shocked. I mean, what would you have leaving over here? I mean, Main Street is phenomenal. Everybody wants to be there.
Yeah, we do love it. We've been here a long time. We do love it. We're just trying to get into something a little bit smaller. Our kids are out of the house, and so we're retired, and so we're trying to just get downsized here in the next year or so.
Got you. Cool. You trying to stay local or you're trying to go to Georgia? I hear a lot of people are moving to Georgia right now.
No, we like the area. We'll just got to get something a little bit more manageable.
Nice. Stay close to the kids. They're probably in the area too, right?
Yep, yep. Just stay local, but just we got to get something a little bit smaller.
That makes perfect sense. And I hope you don't mind me asking this, but just out of curiosity, you said it's maybe a year or so out. And by any chance, did you already look into what that process could look like? Is anybody helping you with that, or you're just at the beginning of, getting
Just,
started?
just yeah, we just are just starting to talk about it. So we know we haven't really done any due diligence on that.
Got you. Okay. Yeah. Listen, Brian, I don't know if this is of any value to you, but you'll be surprised to actually deal with a lot of situations like yours, where folks are trying to, kind of get settled maybe a year or so from now on. And what they often ask me is if I could swing by, take a look at their property, see if there's any, tips that I could give them, maybe small improvements that really help boost the sales value of their property, even if it's so far out. Because let's be honest, if I told you, hey, in the next 3 weeks you want to sell, you got to do A, B, C, D, it probably would be a little bit overwhelming. So is that something you would be, completely opposed to, or what's your take on that?
Um, Probably not right now, but yeah, I mean, I think we'd be open to meet here as we get closer for sure.
Got you, cool. And once you're ready to get going on that process, would you be open to interview, kind of see what I have to offer and see if it might be a fit or not?
Absolutely, totally.
Perfect. Okay. Well, Brandon, why don't we do this? If it's cool with you, I'd like to send you at least my resume so you know who I am. You can see my Google reviews if you like. And then I'm assuming the phone number where I'm calling you right now, that's your cell phone, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Would it be okay for you if I just texted you my business card just so you know who I am and have it there?
That'd be great.
Perfect. Cool. And Brandon, can I ask you one last question before I let you go?
Sure, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, if I sent you that resume, you could tell me, you could be straight up with me. If you're going to toss it or just delete it and it's a waste of your time, just, just let me know. I don't want to bother you. I know it's far down the road, but what do you think?
Yeah, yeah, no, no, yeah, yeah. Send it on over. No, I think we don't have anybody in mind, so yeah, no, please send it on over.
Perfect. Okay. So here's what you can expect from me. In the next 5 minutes, I'm going to text you from my business line, my business card. So you have that. And I'll also send you my resume to your email. So you can see exactly what I've done in the past. You can see my reviews. Down the road, if you want to talk to a couple of my clients and see, what was working with Max like, happy to share that too. And just can I ask you for one favor before we hang up?
Yeah, please.
Awesome. When you get that email, do you mind just shooting me a quick response receipt just so I know I didn't have a typo or anything in it? Would that be cool?
No, no problem. Easy.
Perfect. Thank you, Brendan. Appreciate that.
It's great. So that's great. I mean, give him a round of applause, you guys. That was really good. So you do that 30 times a day.
Yeah.
150 times a week, right? And you could tell you're confident, you're calm. I like the way that you communicate from a place of like not being pushy. Everything is permission based. So I would imagine that your conversations are pretty laid back. They're pretty simple conversations. Yeah.
Very simple. No
Very,
rocket science.
that's great. And how many leads does that script produce per month?
Yeah, so the more I lean into it, assuming I'm not increasing the time, I'm getting about 20, 23 leads per month.
That's amazing. That's great. And those just go into the pipeline, which leads us right into the next conversation, which is lead follow up, which is the most important piece. So now that you're working these leads that are more top of funnel, that you're going to follow up with, what are you doing? What have you learned as far as lead follow up that you're doing that's really working?
Honestly, the best thing ever, and I actually learned this on one of these sessions from somebody else. I forgot her name, but she's in Hawaii. You probably remember her.
Yeah.
She mentioned that she's sending out the thank you cards pretty much timed, 2 weeks, or she sends them right away, and then 2 weeks after she uses that as a reason to follow up. So I do exactly the same thing. I have my thank you cards. I buy them on Amazon in bulk, put my business card into it, shoot it over to them, and then just always write the same stuff basically to make it quick. And I'm actually writing them now as I'm talking to the person. So I've learned to multitask a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I make sure it really goes out right that same day. And then I put into follow-up boss a reminder essentially, to call that person in 2 weeks. Pops up, I call him, say, hey, Brandon, I know you're not ready, but just out of curiosity, I did put something in the mail. I just wanted to make sure that you got it. Did it go there? Did you get
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. We got that. Thank you, Max.
Perfect. Awesome. And hey, I know it's not the time for you just now, but I just want to make sure you got that. And if there's anything that you need, please don't ever hesitate to call me. I actually talked to one of your neighbors just the other day as well, and it looks like they're kind of getting ready too. So if you ever need any info whatsoever, just would love to stay in touch.
That'd be great. No problem. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah. So I just try to throw that out there, and see if I get a bite. If they
Sure.
don't bite, no problem. I just put them into my folder for whatever month I want to follow up. I always ask them, how soon would you like to hear from me? So and I use the same line. I don't want to be the pushy sales agent or whatever. So, you tell me it won't be a good point in time to follow up with you.
Great. So is your follow-up primarily phone calls?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
Mhm.
80, 90% of it, right?
More. Yeah. I'm barely doing anything else. I don't even have an email system. You're probably going to hate me right now.
No, that's okay. Well, I think that's the point, though. The point is, you have built a very simple business that's extremely profitable. That's the point where every other agent is looking to overthink, overcomplicate, and automate everything so they don't have to do the things that actually work. That was my point. My point is, if you do 18 or 20 million this year, how much in income would that generate for you?
I mean, we're
Roughly.
going to push north of 400K for sure.
$400,000 and all you're doing is making phone calls.
Yeah.
You don't have anything fancy. That's my point. Because I just want agents to hear that there's no excuse for, I don't have this, I don't have that. That's okay. You could still pick up the phone and call people. So your lead follow-up system is primarily based on voice-to-voice conversations. And you're just asking them, and when would you like to hear back? And you have how do you organize that? Is it just in follow-up boss? Is there any other way that you're organizing your calls?
You mean like the cold calls or the
No,
follow-up?
the follow-up calls, follow-up
Oh,
calls.
no, just follow-up boss. So I just make sure that my follow-up boss number is registered, is white labeled essentially. And that's it. So I don't have any, honestly, even follow-up boss, I'm not really leveraging it as much as I probably should. So there's nothing automated in there. I just set myself reminders. I have my notes. The same old folder system that you teach from the beginning is what I still use. I just have it, digitized in
Right.
follow-up boss. And
It's
that's what I
perfect.
do. So, I mean, I don't have, there's really not any automation in it. I mean, I do have like stuff, folks that I think that are really hot. I do put them on a mailing campaign with
Mailbox power.
yeah. But I'm probably spending, I don't know, 400, $500 a year on that thing. It's not a lot,
Yeah,
well,
that's
so
great.
yeah,
So
for me,
how
it's a
many?
very, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, how many people? I don't know if you know this. I know you've got 45 million in volume, but how many people would you say are in your pipeline that are in that folder system? Do you know roughly?
Oh, I want to say, well, it's got to be somewhere between 600 and 700.
That's great. And the reason I ask is because I want to, or I want to, I'm curious how you'd answer this question. If people that are not getting great results going after FISBOs and expireds, or they're just like, you know what, I don't want to play in that ocean. I want to go into a higher, I want to build a business model that is of higher quality. How long would you say it would take for them to start to see that pipeline start to mature into appointments and listings?
Honestly, I would say, I mean, you can get the appointment fairly quickly, within 3, 4 months.
Sure.
And you can take the listing maybe 6, 7 months down the road, but that doesn't mean you're going to sell it right away in this market, at least down here where I am.
Yeah.
So I would say if you're just starting out, to be really careful, you got to budget for a year, not to get nervous if stuff is not selling right away.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I've asked that question to everybody who's kind of switched their business model. And that 6 month mark is when I think people are starting to see it turn over, where they can start actually getting, contracts signed. I think that's really responsible. And so let's talk about the presentation and getting listings sold, especially in this market. So when, as far as the listing appointment goes, being able to show up as a trusted advisor to go meet with these people and earn their business. What have you learned that helps you at the presentation to actually win the business?
Yeah, great question. So I would say the biggest learning is that I've learned the presentation starts before I even start the presentation. So the minute, not even before I walk in, but it's when I set the appointment over the phone, even that language, here's what you can expect from me. I'm going to send you a text from my business line. I'm going to send you this, da da da, so that they know what's coming next. They already tell me, Max, like 9 out of 10 agents that I talk to, they don't even talk like that. So that's the first thing. Then when I walk into their house, I'm professionally dressed. That already separates me from the other half. And so the professional appearance, I think, comes a long way. I mean, honestly, here in my market, there are folks that run around in flip-flops. I'm not gonna
Oh, I
hold.
know. Because the argument is you're in South Florida, it's 95, 100 degrees, but you still show up as a professional in a suit and tie to your appointments. Is that right?
Not a tie, but yeah, suit.
Yeah, that's great. And then when the presentation starts, is there a part of the presentation that you feel that allows you to position yourself as the obvious choice more so than another part?
Yeah, so I had probably about a year ago, there was a listing appointment that I went to, and it was a huge aha for me. So I made a major mistake. I walked into that listing appointment. I have my presentation, everything was on fleek. It was a really good presentation. Probably 9 out of 10 steps through it, I felt like, okay, I got this. I feel like there's chemistry there and whatnot. And the seller liked me, they agreed with what I had to say and so on. And then I made a mistake that the seller kind of felt like was pushy. And I
Mm,
thought it was just a nice joke. So what I wanted to do basically is I had a book basically that showed past examples that kind of compared to the house that this seller had. And I said, hey, this is the only copy that I have. I'll leave it with you so you can review once I'm gone. I know you're not ready to make a decision tonight, and I'm not trying to push. And whenever you're ready, even if you decide you're going to go with somebody else, I can come and pick it up again. So from my perspective, I thought that was not invasive, but the seller perceived it as such that, well, I'm putting the anchor down here because I have to come back for the book. And I completely misjudged that. So after that, I mean, I used that opportunity to pick up the book to really get feedback and say, hey,
mm.
hit me. I just want to know. I respect your decision. I'm not trying to change your mind, but just what did I do? And thankfully, that seller was, kind enough to really share with me that, that move was kind of what threw them off or was pushy. Not to say that's the one thing that breaks it all, but I learned from me the big mistake that I made is I didn't really pay attention to the disc profile that I was dealing with here. My presentation probably was maybe a little bit more too much data oriented, and that person was not a D, was not an I. She wanted that relationship. She wanted to feel like,
She was an amiable. Yeah.
yeah, she wanted to be taken care of, and I completely blew that. So after that, yes, it's a long answer, I'm sorry, but the learning from me is I really brushed up on this profile. So when I talk to people, I try to vet for that already over the phone before the appointment. So when I go in, depending on the disc profile I'm dealing with, that's how I'm going to lean into my presentation. So there's a couple of hidden slides, that I have my whole deck. I just pulled stuff out that doesn't apply, and then I try to make this as fitting to their personality type as I can.
I mean, I'm glad you took the time to tell that. I mean, I think that is not talked about enough. Is because I think what happens is we practice and role play our listing presentation script without ever realizing that the presentation is not for us, it's for the audience. And so we have to tweak that based on who the audience is that we're communicating with. I think that's super, super smart. Now, when you get the listing, especially in this market, especially in Florida, I mean, more especially, this is where agents are struggling. They're getting listings that they can't sell them because these agents that have been licensed in the last 4 or 5 years are so used to putting a sign in the front yard and it's selling right now. How do you approach the conversation around price? How do you have you switched your mindset from how do I convince this person to give me the listing to you interviewing the seller as to whether or not you even want the listing? Have you had to make that switch in your mind that when you acquire listings, it's because not only is the seller interviewing you, but I'm assuming at this point in your career, you're vetting the seller as well. Would that be fair?
100%. Yeah. I've blown out so much money on listings where I didn't do a proper process for that. I didn't really vet for it, and there's no point for me to carry 20 listings and I can't even sell them. So yeah, definitely I'm not only qualifying more over the phone, but also when I get to the appointment. I mean, if I've had it this year more than ever, actually, to be honest with you, where I said, you know what, I don't think I'm the right fit to help you with this. I just had this last week. It was $1 million listing appointment, and the expectation that the seller had. I said to him, look, I love your house. I think you did a phenomenal job, but I got to be transparent with you and professional. What you're asking for, I don't think that that's achievable. And I'm not trying to insult. I said I just want to spare you and I, 3 months of battling over this, and then you will be disappointed because I overpromised and underdelivered.
Good for you. Where does that come from? Where most new agents would not do that. Most new agents would make things seem better than they are because they would rather have a listing than not have a listing. How have you actually changed your mind on that point?
I mean, I want to get stuff sold, and I see, doing this now for 2.5 years, I have a much better feeling now what I can actually sell in the current environment and what it takes right out of the gate to get it going. So a conversation that I have with them is, my business is very analytical to the point when I talk to a seller, we have the listing on the market. I show them the metrics. There's nothing to hide, right? I show them, look, if we don't get this, this, or this, then my marketing is underperforming and I'm going to tweak that. But if we do get all these things and we still don't have an offer on the table, it doesn't have anything to do with my marketing. It's the price.
That's
And I
right.
said, look, we're coming out of the gate. We're going to have an aggressive strategy to get this done because this is like over here where I'm, it's like a falling knife right now. So you don't want to be the last one to catch it. So let me take care of this, make sure we get strong out of the gate is what I tell them. And then I'm honest with them. I tell them, look, if somebody else comes on the market or if people react to us when we come on the market, that will anything that would change the dynamic, I'll try to get ahead of it and tell them, look, if your neighbor who has exactly the same house responds to us by dropping below us, we're gonna have a situation here, and I just want you to be aware of it. We can fix it, but we need to talk about it, and so that's a conversation I have with them. And usually because I'm upfront about it, they're not surprised, when like after 2 weeks I tell them, hey, this and this is happening. I'm not getting enough dynamic here on the listing. We need to change something. You
Yeah, I
know,
mean, even your demeanor is just so detached from the outcome that you're just telling people the truth. This is what I'm trying to scream from the mountaintops and explain to agents. It's if you can just go in there and win business based on the truth, you're going to be better off. It might mean that you lose some listings to agents that are unwilling to tell the truth, but it's okay. My belief is that it's worse to get a listing that doesn't sell than not having a listing at all. It creates stress, anxiety, lost money, lost energy. It takes all your mind share. You're just thinking about this thing. It's stressing you out, etc. My other question, really quick, and then we're going to open this up to the live audience for questions. Is this came up on a coaching call, both in our boardroom and in our inner circle, which is when it comes to making that list price recommendation either at the listing appointment or after you've been hired. I think you were on the boardroom call when this thing came up. You know, what is your belief? Do you believe that it serves you and the seller to make that list price recommendation right there on the spot, or to validate some of the work, maybe a day or two after you've taken the listing to firm up your strategy to position it on the market?
it kind of depends on, first of all, how many good comps I have. So how certain I am that I can achieve whatever the list price recommendation is. And it also depends on if I haven't seen the house before and I made a couple of assumptions, if these assumptions come true, or, I mean, I've walked into houses that look far different from what the seller
Yeah.
had described to me before. And then I'm honest with them. I said, look, you know, based on what I understood, I never make it about them, right? I said, look, here's what I understood. And if we had all these things, this would be the list price.